Welcome to Jurassic Park.
Not even supposed to be here today.
I'm just a fucked up girl who's looking for my own peace of mind.
Welcome to the party, pal.
I'll be back.
I'll have what she's having.
I'm gonna make him an offer again.
Here's looking at you, kid.
You're gonna need a bigger boat.
All right, Mr. DeMille, I'm ready for my close-up.
Hello, I'm your host, Jim McClean. Welcome back to another episode of More Than Pixels on a Screen, a spoilerific movie review podcast brought to you by BanterFlix. We know you're not really here for the reviews. You're here for the nonsense, the tangents. And if you listened to our last episode as part of this James Cameron retrospective, the Arnie's Arse Appreciation. So, joining me as we continue our deep dive into Cameron's retrospective is my lovely co-host and deputy editor, Joe McElroy.
How you doing, Jim?
Joe, everyone's still a bit worried.
Why?
Have you and Catherine had a wee chat about, the love of Arnie's arse?
She doesn't listen. I told her not to listen.
Don't listen at all. It's like, why does everyone keep wondering, asking me these questions about you? It's like, no, don't.
What's the search history all about?
Why is your wallpaper just Arnie's arse?
Why not?
What a beautiful wallpaper that would be.
Yeah.
Perfect. So, that's Joe McElroy. Joining me, we've actually awoken him from stasis. We haven't had him on the pod. Mr. Libel, as I like to dub him. It's Gavin Moriarty. Hello, Gavin. I'm trying to think how long it's been since we've had you on the pod, the TV show.
Well, the last time, I'm trying to think, the Tories were in power and United weren't doing very well. So, really...
History repeats itself.
Yeah,
Gavin. History repeats itself. So, on this special edition of the pod, it's our first kind of special of this current series. We're releasing this on Alien Day. I know we're kind of recording it a little bit before, but that takes away from the magic of broadcasting. But we thought it would be an excuse to kind of continue our retrospective with James Cameron and look back at Aliens 1986, the sequel to Alien, which of course this year celebrates its 45th anniversary. I know Scott's original is getting a limited re-release in cinemas. I don't know. It's a bit like our Mummy retrospective. I don't know if it's getting much of a release here in Northern Ireland. Probably in the Lighthouse. Every single thing seems to happen in the Lighthouse Cinema in Dublin. That's not me throwing shade at the QFT. We love you, Queen's Film Theatre. But it's only got 2 screens. They can only do so much. So yes, we're going to be talking about Aliens, and this is the point where I poke Gavin, and say the reason why we thought of you for this pod was because you're a massive fan of Aliens, and in the previous kind of incarnations of this podcast, we've had you on the TV show. You and I usually get into heated discussions generally over which is the better film. Aliens, and you usually get really annoyed with me, and then particularly when the last kind of time we had you on, there was Prometheus and Alien Covenant was getting released, and you got really annoyed with Ridley Scott. You were getting really grumpy because you thought it was throwing shade and kind of retconning away from Cameron's film. So you're a massive fan of this film. Why?
Well, I watched it at the weekend, as I mentioned to you earlier before we started recording, and I was trying to think, how many times have I actually watched this movie?
Twice.
And so, but I was just kind of thinking about how many movies do I actually really watch and consistently watch every year? And I was trying to think, how many times have I seen this film? I would have to say it's probably...
You must watch Prometheus every couple of months.
If it's on TV, weirdly enough, I will hate watch it. But and
do you feel dirty when you do?
No, because Michael Fassbender kind of redeems a lot of what's wrong with that movie. But no, so I would say it must be in the region like 40 to 50 times, without exaggeration, I've seen that movie. But I think...
Last year.
I think what makes Aliens, and probably, the first one too, is that you have a real sense of atmosphere, place, characters feel real. And then I think probably what Aliens maybe has more than the original Alien is just the one-liners. How many awesome one-liners does Aliens have? Do you know? So it's a dynamite script. Everything just kind of works really well, and even the special effects for the most part.
I'm going to come back to this because when I rewatched the film just before we started to record, and I think largely the special effects do hold up. apart from there's two sequences and it's involving the same
The spaceship.
the spaceship. Yeah, the spaceship is the only thing, and it generally is for a film. 1986, as we said earlier, to stand the test of time. Like there's the Sulaco itself.
Mm-hmm.
When you see it going through space, it looks amazing. Now, I don't know whether that's been updated with the kind of special editions and things like that, but the sequence, the landing and the heading back to the big spacecraft is like, ooh.
But even like the stuff that they don't really use in Hollywood, and because everything's CGI, the background projection screens that they used them in Terminator 2, they still look really good.
Oh yeah, like the crash sequence.
Yeah.
That's fantastic.
So that holds up really well. So bar one or two things, special effects wise, maybe could do with a bit of brushing up, but it kind of, in every other respect, it holds up. And I think again, I mean, we talk about like Alien Day and stuff. There is no Alien Day without Aliens. This is the franchise because of that movie. Mm-hmm. I know you're going to disagree and say, well, you need the first one. Like, you do need the first one. But the way
it's called Alien Day after all.
I know. Well, it should be called Aliens Day.
Poke.
But everything that we think about the franchise, particularly Ripley, is the character Ripley. Because if you think about that first movie, Tom Skerritt is kind of the lead until he gets killed off. And then, we kind of realize that Ripley is kind of the lead character, but it's the Ripley that we kind of know as that sort of kick-ass heroine is because of that.
I want to come back to this as well, and I know we tried to get, not that your second choice, Gav, not your second choice. Joey's about fifth or sixth. But, sorry, I shouldn't have said that. But Joanne Alexander, who's been a regular guest, we haven't actually had her on the pod that many times, purely a bit like yourself, Gav. Joanne can push the boundaries. But with Joanne, it's in decency, it's just legally. But we are going to hear from Joanne later on, because she wanted to be on the pod, and she's recorded this lovely little voice note when she was out for a walk, and her thoughts on Aliens, and particularly the character of Ripley. I want to come back to that, because when I was watching Aliens today, ahead of this recording, I was kind of thinking about her character arc in comparison with, say, Linda Hamilton from Terminator to Terminator 2, which kind of brings us back, Joe. Mm-hmm. You're the Hicks to my Hudson.
Yeah.
And, we were talking about Terminator in the last pod, and I know we will get round to talking about Terminator 2, because this Cameron retrospective, we took our time, but it's ramping up. We are going to come to the end of this, and we'll have to think of another director. But then I know you and the lovely Therese are going to start with your crime scene to screen work. Yes. Name of the title pending. It might be changed, but that's what it was called before. So maybe you won't want to do more of these deep dives. I don't know.
I'm always open for a deep dive.
Especially when it's like, go just get more Arnie's arse. More Arnie's arse, Jim. Can we just get episodes just focusing on Arnie's arse and the pixelated glory that it is? So this does, continue on. So our last pod, you and I were kind of waxing lyrical about Terminator. We'll come round about Terminator 2. And probably, we normally didn't intend to have this pod out so quickly, but just thought since it was Alien Day, we'd take the chance. So we will be talking about that. But, so Cameron comes from Terminator, and then Aliens arrives. And I know we've already done The Abyss as well. We've already done that deep dive, and that, again, no pun intended, where that's concerned. But I think we've kind of talked around it already, and I think Gavin has mentioned this. So we should clarify which version of Aliens we're going to talk about for this pod, because we had this with The Abyss. Do we talk about, I think I said at the time, is it the special edition or the director's cut, or is it the original theatrical cut? So I think with Aliens, it's a weird one. I have a vague memory from the last time we had you on the pod, or one of the times we were on the pod talking about Aliens. It's how the special edition of the film just is kind of seen now as the norm, because it's like, what's the version that's mostly screened on TV. When you go to a film screening, we screened Aliens a couple of years ago. It was the special edition we screened. But Joe, I think it was Joe, I can't remember which one of the two you made the point. On Disney Plus, where Aliens is now available because the House of Mouse has bought everything, it's the original cut. So what way are we going to clarify here? Are we going to work from the original, or are we going to work with the special edition? And as Deputy Editor Joe, I feel you should make that choice.
I'm very easygoing when it comes to this. Like, I know both versions sort of very well. Like, I've watched it Well, I wouldn't say I watch it every year, but like I try and make a point of watching it as
Isn't
often
it
as I
weird
can.
though when because was it you said you were saying you watch it on Disney?
I only watch it in Disney Plus because I do have the DVD. Remember the quadrilogy box set in DVD where you can have a choice to watch, theatrical or director's cuts for all 4 of them, of the original ones. But I just went with, whatever Disney Plus has. So then it was the regular edition because I thought this is a lot shorter than what it should be. So a lot of stuff was cut out. But
Because you don't really, one of the main differences, you don't really know about Ripley's daughter.
Yeah.
You don't really get to see that. There's the sequence with Newt's parents, and everyone talks about there's the extra sequence with, isn't it, the Gatling gun? The
sentry guns, yeah.
They go see the derelict, though, from the original. You see the original spaceship from the...
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
As well, with Newt's parents. Stuff like that. This is why you need to own physical media, kids.
I own it, though. I just didn't have it on me.
I know. But
he was just lazy, Gavin.
But I think there's a couple... There's maybe... Is there another...
There's a few other little bits and pieces that are in it, but I can't recall.
There's a small...
Oh, is it like...
There is a small sequence where before Ripley's about to go into the final battle with the Queen Alien, there's a scene on the ship.
Does a wee dance.
Where Hicks and Ripley exchange first names. And we find out that Hicks's first name is Dwayne. So there is a small exchange there that they put in.
And that's who The Rock's parents named him after?
I had watched Aliens and he was conceived that night.
Right? And they're like, there we go. Dwayne The Rock Johnson. If only they were called Hicks.
But is there not, I don't know if it's in the special edition or it might just be a deleted scene where she encounters Burke when he's
That's a deleted scene.
It's a deleted scene.
Yeah,
right,
it's a deleted scene, yeah.
I was unsure about that.
Another question, just because you mentioned Burke. Has this...
Paul Reiser? Amazing
I
Paul
can't
Reiser?
claim this, right? I can't claim this factoid. But someone on Twitter, now X, thanks to old Elon, made the point, one of the greatest questions that sadly still remains unanswered that they need a film for, forget kind of the origins of the space jockey and anything, is whenever Burke and Ripley call each other video call, Burke's distracted by something on the phone, on the video call. It's like, hi Ripley, how are you? And looks over his shoulder. They want to know what Burke was distracted.
It's Arnie's arse. He's watching Terminator.
I'm busy here. I'm trying to listen to more than pixels on a screen. Joe keeps talking about Arnie's arse. What an arse it was.
But yeah, he must have had a night call.
Yes.
We'll just put it that way.
So I think what we will do, and we haven't really done this, Joe, on this kind of retrospective, I think we should hear from the man himself. And that, of course, is James Cameron. And James did a very brief interview with Film 4 a couple of years ago. I think they did it for all the Alien movies. There's one for Ridley Scott as well. Notably, there's none for David Fincher. But I guess that's for a discussion for another day, when he was kind of talking a little bit about getting involved in the filming of Alien. So we'll play a little clip of that interview.
Just tell me one thing, Burke. You're going out there to destroy them, right? Not to study. Not to bring back, but to wipe them out.
That's the plan. You have my word on it.
All right, I'm in.
So here I am as this ridiculous fanboy turned director, now wanting to do the sequel to Ridley Scott's much vaunted Alien film, and everybody tried to talk me out of it. They said, well, don't do that, because anything that's good in your movie will be attributed to Ridley, and anything that's bad will be attributed to you. It's a no-win scenario. And I said, but I really want to do it. It'll be cool. It was like this ridiculous, stupid thing. It wasn't strategic at all. But I knew it would be cool, because what Ridley had set in motion was the creation of a world. These were new ideas then. Science fiction hadn't done that. A little bit in Star Wars with the kind of used future look, but Alien was a remarkable film, and it influenced a generation of filmmakers, especially those that like science fiction and fantasy, and I was one of them. And I was as much doing an homage to what Ridley had created as I was making my own movie, but I did set out to do both in a balance, and I knew I could do action.
So, yes, that's the man himself talking about Aliens. Gavin, he's a lot of love for Scott's film there.
Well, but
a lot of love.
He does, and I think, listen, Alien is a brilliant movie, but I think...
You're pushing him.
but I think what Cameron kind of hit the nail on the head there was that he sort of talked about that there was this kind of world that obviously Ridley Scott had created, but what Cameron does really, really well is he expands on everything He kept the...
In the same way like Ridley Scott did many years later with Prometheus
Well,
and Alien Covenant.
A reclamation, if you will.
But as Cameron mentions in that clip, he has a lot to lose by making a sequel to that movie.
What I didn't realise when I was reading up about Aliens, I assure you listeners, I'm always as shocked as anyone when this is me prepared for this podcast. Imagine if I just tried to wing it. But he kind of talked about the fact that with Aliens, because you think it's like 86, so Aliens out in 79, there was no real demand from Fox for a sequel.
They kept changing presidents, so
wasn't one. There was a lot of legal issues involved. So when it finally comes, I think it was from 83, he comes on board with the project. So it's taken its while to get there. You think now, like a film like Alien, if it was out, you'd probably have your sequel kind of greenlit or your plan. I don't know. You look at the way things now, like we were talking about The Mummy on the last pod, like literally the day it's released, Stephen Sommers has phoned and said, look, we need another one. So it's weird to think that there was so many problems. I don't know, it's ironic then when you go from Aliens to think about the problems then between Aliens and Alien 3. Like there is the famous trailer where it's the original trailer for Alien 3, and I know Gavin will very quickly, I don't know, will not even push him.
They sell it that they're going to Earth, yet they don't go to Earth.
It's on
Marvin
Earth.
Lies.
On Earth, everyone can hear you scream. And I know we're kind of going to Earth with the TV show that we'll talk about in the future. But anyway, so that is Aliens, and kind of we have Cameron now taking on the mantle with the sequel. This is his first early on in his career. This is not like Terminator 2, where he's returning to something that he started. This is him taking over something else. I am on record. I love the first Alien. I think it's as Scott called it, it's Texas Chainsaw Massacre in space. It's all about the tension. I will say from the get-go, rewatching the film, I still think there's more tension in Alien than there is in Aliens. But I love both films. I personally just think there's more tension in Alien, because it's like the answer is, well, in the first one we had 5 or 6 kind of, grunts in space taking on one. What do we do? Well, imagine, the Marine Corps taking on hundreds of these. I don't know. But that's me. That sounds like I'm criticizing. It's just, I still prefer the first one. But Joe, and I don't want this podcast to become, do you like Alien or Aliens? Both can coexist. I think Aliens is without a doubt one of the best sequels of all time, and a great film in its own right. I just personally love Alien. That's my only thing. If you ask me 2 copies, you could only watch one. Just for the sheer time constraint, I'd watch Alien. But, as I ask you a question and interject myself, we were talking about this with The Mummy on the last pod, with Adam and Victoria. For a film that's kind of action-heavy, it's a good hour into the film before you see the xenomorph action, really. It does take its time. And again, I'm probably judging this because I rewatched the special edition. But yeah, I don't mean... That's me throwing a lot of things at you, Joe, and saying, hey, run with it.
No. No. The thing with Alien and Aliens, they're both 5-star classics, right? Yeah. And for me, it always depends on my mood more than anything. Like, if you ask me one day, like today, what do you prefer? I'd probably say Aliens.
Alien Resurrection.
It could be sometime. I have to give it a rewatch at some time, but maybe an Alien Day itself. But yeah, and then if you ask me the following week, what do you prefer? I'd probably say Alien. Because they're both unique in their own sort of sensibilities. One's a pure horror film, while one's more of a sci-fi action film.
Yeah.
But that's not to say it's not without its horror within
they're both
it.
Great.
And then, yeah.
Are you
exactly.
placated, Gavin? Are you placated? They're both great films. There, you heard me say it. I just love Alien more.
The other thing I would give...
Do you notice how he doesn't answer?
Yeah, it's more of an action. No,
yes or no.
but the other thing is, how long does it take for Cameron to actually show an alien in Aliens? he shows remarkable restraint.
I timed
Well, that's
it 45 minutes in the theatrical.
Is it even for? Well,
It is 45.
It's probably like it's like an hour. With,
Yeah.
with
Special edition, definitely.
I mean, that's remarkable restraint.
Yeah, because we were talking about this with the Mummy on the last pod. It's like a good hour before you get any real Mummy action in the aforementioned Mummy. I agree with you. I've already made that
you were
point.
saying about the tension. I think there's more tension in that one because it's like you've seen. Okay, most people maybe have probably seen the first one, but you're just kind of. It's just this slow kind of build to just. And that whole sequence where they go into like the underbelly of that place and. You have them watching on video monitors and stuff like that. I was kind of thinking, like, that's like proto fucking Blair Witch Project
found footage stuff.
It's just, I mean, there was so many interesting, innovative things going on there. But it was just this build of tension and it's just this dread. I mean, even get that sequence where she has the dream sequence of the chest burster coming out, but you don't fully see it. You just kind of get this.
Is that in the theatrical or is that?
Oh yeah,
just,
yeah,
okay.
it is.
So there's a lot. I just kind of think that what Ridley Scott did was obviously brilliant, but he kind of just he ups everything to like the nth degree to the point where actually, I mean. Okay, I mean, I don't think I don't really want to talk about Alien 3 because it makes me sad. But it's just like, where do you go after a movie that really just has kind of everything? It's got your action, it's got your tension, it's got your horror. I mean, the horror is still there. I mean, there's still some frightening bits in that movie. And you just kind of have, there's a slight romance story with Hicks and Ripley. There's so much in that movie. I just kind of. If there's a choice between Alien and Aliens, it's going to be Aliens every day of the week.
But when you think about it that way, right, you go into Aliens knowing everything in terms of the creature, in terms of like the basics, in terms of, right, it gestates in your chest, it bursts out, so that tension's gone already.
True.
But if you're coming into this for the first time, like I admit, when I first saw any of the Aliens films, I seen Aliens first before Alien. But it didn't dispel any of the tension in the first one. It was just as scary. So that's why I'm wondering, if you knew absolutely nothing and you just watched Alien first and then Aliens after it, would you feel differently? I'm just curious more than anything.
Well, I'm a bit like you. I saw Aliens first before I saw Alien. And I just kind of remember at the time.
But is this a case of a film just hitting you at the right time? It's like Ghostbusters, right? Ghostbusters hit me right time. So I know now, and I'm not saying Aliens is flawed by any way, but I watch Ghostbusters now, and we had Dr. Juliana Monteverdi on the TV show, because a couple of years ago, pre-COVID, we were doing an event, I can't remember, it was for International Women's Day, and it was kind of in around the time, the year after all the hullabaloo and all the nasty online trolling had emerged with the wanker fans, basically. That's what I'm going to call them. My name is Joe McElroy. And
Paul Feig's a hack.
Yes, those. It was kind of like, as we said before, we talked about doing this, Joe, many years ago. The Kathy Bates syndrome and Misery. It's like, you haven't given us what we want. You're dirty birdie. Go back and do it again. We're gonna literally. We're all James Caan, and we're gonna take fucking big sledgehammer.
We're gonna hobble Paul Feig.
Yeah, that's what they're gonna do. And we were talking. I was talking to Juliana at the time. She's like, "I've never seen Ghostbusters." Never seen Ghostbusters. And I'm always, every so often you get a film, it's like, oh, what, you've never seen this? But surely it's been on ITV at some point, or you've watched. She's like, no, never watched it. We got her on TV show. She had watched for the first time for us, and she said, yeah, okay, yeah, I didn't like this film, and here's why. And blah, 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 blah. And you're like, I can't disagree with anything you're saying. I accept, if you look at it now, fresh eye, 2024, Peter Venkman's character is a bit of a wanker. And not the nicest person in the world. But I'm the person that goes, I watched this God when I was it 89 Ghostbusters? Or was that Ghostbusters 2?
That was 2 was 89.
I remember watching Ghostbusters in around the time, and it just hit me at the perfect time, and I love that film. And I can't take away that nostalgia. So is there a case of the fact you're just so defensive about Aliens, is the fact that it hit you just at the right time, and you're like, well, whoa, what the fuck here?
The only thing against that is I saw Terminator, the first one, before I saw Terminator 2. I would watch Terminator 2 over Terminator 1 every day of the week. I mean, again, I mean, that's sort of camera related too, but like, I don't know. I mean, it's an interesting one, but I kind of think that there's just something about that. I mean, the
Aliens is fun. I'm gonna in a way that it's a film designed. Cameron, and we've probably made this point before, Joe. Probably particularly when we're talking about Avatar and stuff. James Cameron is someone, and I guess he's someone that comes from the Roger Corman school of filmmaking. Oh, you probably wouldn't know that now with all the excess we see in Avatar. And it's like, right, we're going to make 3. No, we're going to make 5. And yeah, you know what? We're going to go to a fire planet just for the fucking crack. That's what it is. But he comes from that, and it's like everything as much as he does. He tries to get as much in the kind of Chris Nolan way in camera. There's a lot of prosthetics in there. But he is someone as a filmmaker who knows how to do popcorn blockbusters.
He knows what makes an audience tick.
Yeah, and I
better than Ridley Scott does.
Well, the box office shows that. You know, you've got 2 Avatars and Titanic in the top 5 films of all time.
But that's, I guess, where his interests.
They're different sensibilities. Yeah.
If you're looking at kind of like just box office numbers, without a doubt, Cameron wins hands down. But you've got a filmmaker like Ridley Scott, particularly now, when his fuck you phase, as I like to call it now, he will just make the film he wants to make. Sometimes that's a good thing. Sometimes that, like in the case like the film I'll come with Ridley Scott, not even going down the Alien franchise kind of.
You're going to talk about a good year?
No,
a movie that no one saw.
Something like The Counselor is a film he really wanted to make.
I actually like that movie. I actually quite like that movie.
But it's a flawed piece.
Oh, it's so grim. I mean, it's anti-audience in every respect. I love it.
But if you ask Ridley Scott, he's like, I fucking made the film. You didn't like it? Fuck you. I made the film I wanted to make. I think James Cameron is a filmmaker, someone who's like, right, I want to sit down and I want to wow you, whether it's in Titanic. And even in Titanic, you've got, a little bit of there's a lot of historical accuracy, but also, hey guys, we know there's a love story. We've got all the girls, they all love Leo, but hey, just for the lads, there's a guy falling into a propeller. I know what you guys want. Yeah, I know what cinema goers want. So I don't dispute that, and I think if anything, doing this retrospective has made me go, yeah, fuck James Cameron. He is that filmmaker that if you got hit, like you're talking about with Aliens, probably with me with Terminator 2, watching it, I can't remember who had it in VHS. God, remember them kids? Watching it at my mum's caravan in Clockey and just being like, wow, this is amazing. So he's a filmmaker that understands spectacle and knows how to keep cinema audience in their seat, munching popcorn, going, fuck, this is great.
Ever wondered what it takes to make it in the movie business? Peel back the curtain with 4-6 Success Filmmaking. 4-6 Success Filmmaking is where filmmakers share their stories and the secrets.
It's beyond competitive out there.
There have been movies that it's taken me 10 years to get made.
Don't wait to create. Like, you've got to just keep making stuff.
Tune into 4-6 Success Filmmaking for your dose of cinematic realness, direct from the voices that have lived it.
Well, that's it. Yeah, it's because he's always been pushing the boundaries in filmmaking as well. Because he's like, right, so like Spielberg's done this with Jurassic Park, so I have to try and up my game with something like Avatar in terms of pushing the boundaries of special effects.
Am I right? Did I pick up this factoid somewhere? He kind of quit his job. He was a truck driver. Yeah. He was a driver and he quit his job after watching Star Wars. It's like, I want to make movies. So you get that. He's someone who himself would be sitting in a cinema and munching his popcorn. Fuck, this is what I want to do.
Because what he would do was, whilst he was driving trucks, he would stop at libraries and get every book out on filmmaking, photocopy it, and would have like binders on filmmaking. So he would read these in his downtime. So he would actually do like his own film school by himself. And then that's when he eventually fell into the whole Roger Corman thing and working as, production design and stuff like that there.
Because he worked on Carpenter.
Escape from New York. He did the New York backdrop, Matt.
And then he kind of he worked on Piranha 2. I think we should do Piranha 2. Although
we have to.
He did get sacked from that and it's kind of disputed over, I think there was 2 filmmakers involved. I forget the name of the director that did that. Isn't it Piranha 2, The Spawning?
Yeah.
Bonafide classic, one of the greatest movies of all time. So, yes, we've somehow on our Alien Day special got sidetracked. Hey, it's what we do here.
Did he also have a hand in one of the Rambo movies?
He wrote Rambo 2 because there's a story he was writing Terminator, Aliens, and Rambo 2. They were in 3 different tables, so he would just literally write a few scenes, turn to the table, few scenes.
Imagine if you fucked that up.
I didn't know how he managed to write 3 pre-good. Well, just
in the middle of Rambo, just be like, "Fuck's Xenomorph doing there?"
What is this thing?
What's the story with the Rambo 2? Is that the one with the Taliban, or am I thinking of a different?
No, that's 3.
3. All right, okay, sorry.
Dedicated to the freedom fighters.
the Mujahideen. Is that
well, they already did that.
Yeah. So. Oh dear.
Yeah,
whoopsies.
They did. No, first there's it's the what he's
second when he goes back to Vietnam because there's prisoners of war still there. And
that's right.
It's a bit like the plot for the Rambo before the last one.
Oh, the 4th one.
Yeah, the 4th one. It's kind of very similar to that.
Yeah.
Yes. So
James Cameron.
Yes, James Cameron. Alien. I feel we've already got so far. We've kind of clarified which version of Aliens we're talking about. We've talked a little bit about Alien, but I feel for anyone who at this stage, spoiler, who hasn't seen any of Aliens and wants to kind of know. So the basic plot is, 57 years after the events on the Nostromo, Sigourney Weaver is eventually found in stasis. Oh, I thought it was always, what's the term? I think it's stasis is the term they use.
Cryosleep?
Cryosleep. Well, it's because all the different variations that each franchise has. Mm-hmm. She's found in the shipping lane. She's brought back. They kind of decide what happened. Very brief. There's a nice way of summing up what happened. If you've never watched Alien, it's like, right, here we go. We're saying everything that happened, and we're saying, well, we're not saying you fucked up, but you're
getting the blame.
You're getting the blame. She is then surprised to learn that on LV-426, where they first encountered the space jockey, the face hugger, Wayland Yutani had the great idea. They went back and said, let's get a colony of terraformers on this planet. Nothing could possibly go wrong. And guess what, kids?
Everything
goes wrong. And as Gavin has already alluded to, it's kind of Sigourney's fault because she gets found and then she tells them where they encountered the alien. I mean, had Ripley never been woken from her sleepy slumber?
The distress call, did they not let them know, oh, you have to go to this planet because there's this distress call?
Well, that's the first one. But
surely they would have found out anyway, and they would have.
They
done
only go back to
the company
that big Prometheus, the engineers,
the derelict
engineers.
I think they would have sent some sort of discovery thing to our research.
But you do have to wonder. Actually, am I just out of the top of my head? Am I picking a massive flaw in this film, in the sense that they sent them to there, and they're like, right, we're going to build this family. We're going to build this colony of terraformers. And then it's only until Ripley's awoken from her sleepy sleep, spacey, snoozy,
and then that's when they send them out.
Yeah. I've just ruined the film. No, I'm sorry. Sorry, kids.
I don't think it's ruined as such. Because if they're already there, right, on a different part of the planet, then they send, there's some weird thing out there.
They only go there because Burke, so I think Ripley gives them the coordinates.
Yeah.
And then Burke, because that's the whole thing. I don't know if that's just in the special edition, but Burke does send them, because that's the whole flaw later on. And Burke, she goes, I checked the logs. You sent newts. They mostly come at night. Mostly. I'm very posh English accent.
I was going to say, is the Queen alive again? Elizabeth's back?
Too soon, Joe.
Sorry.
But when they review the audio logs, Burke sent them to the spacecraft after he's kind of his chat and debriefing with Ripley. So had Ripley stayed in her spacey snooze, LV-426 might have been all right.
When you want,
probably eventually something would have happened.
I go through an spanner in the works. Anyway, it's a salvage team that comes across her. Mm-hmm. Well, they're like, oh, there goes our salvage. Unless we just unplug her. We could just go yank.
We have no movie.
And then, I know that, but just we're talking hypotheticals.
It's a bit like Lord of the Rings. Yeah, why don't they just take the big moth things and just fly to the mountain and drop it down?
Well, actually, no, we're not getting in that.
Mothra.
Oh, that'd be fantastic.
But I don't know that it's necessary. I think is there not kind of the gist that the Wayland Yutani company kind of know a bit more than they let on? Is that
that's what I was sort of alluding to, the way they sent them in the first one. Yeah,
I don't think it's so much of a. I don't think you find.
You never know, Jim. Romulus could sort of tie things into it as well.
This could be, because we don't know. We're only judging by what we can see in the trailer. So I think we have set it up. As we say, Ripley is heading back to LV-426. Oh, yada. She's there she's been promised, a destroy mission by the corporation's smiley Mr. Burke. And I think it's a perfect opportunity. No, we've heard from James Cameron himself. I think we'll play a little clip.
We set down on LV-426. One of our crew members was brought back on board with something attached to his face, some kind of parasite. We tried to get it off. It wouldn't come off. Later, it seemed to come off by itself and die. Kane seemed fine. We were all having dinner, and, it must have laid something inside his throat, some sort of embryo. He started...
Look, man, I only need to know one thing. Where they are.
Joe Vasquez, kick ass.
Anytime, anywhere, man.
Right. Somebody said alien. She thought they said illegal alien and signed up.
Fuck you, man.
Anytime, anywhere.
Are you finished? I hope you're right. I really do.
So that's a clip from Aliens. We have the lovely Sigourney Weaver, the Oscar-nominated Sigourney Weaver, for her performance in this film. Basically, a bit like what we've done, setting the scene again of what happened in Alien and preparing her team of grunts for what's going to happen. So we're now back on LV-426, guys. And as I say, of course, we are releasing this pod on Alien Day. So yeah, all hell breaks loose. And I think we've all made this point. For a film that is so action-heavy, particularly in its latter half, Cameron does show a lot of restraint in terms of setting everything up. And once eventually all hell breaks loose, all hell does indeed break loose. And there's loads of things we could jump off here. I know I want to come back to Ripley's character and her arc from Alien. I do want to talk as well about, because as much as, the Xenomorph themselves are a big part of the franchise, we also have synthetics. This time we have Bishop, much nicer all round. Because
is he? You don't really know.
Well, the previous models were a little bit twitchy.
Yeah,
we know that the previous models were a little bit twitchy, but he's there. We haven't really mentioned the Marines themselves. I know we've kind of alluded to Michael Biehn with Corporal Hicks. So this is the point where I open it up to you both. I wait for Gavin to seize the opportunity and say, right, where do we want to go with next as part of this Aliens retrospective?
Well, I mean, if we're going to talk about the Marines, you can't really look too far past Bill Paxton and Michael Biehn. You can't, I mean, just...
They're the head ones.
And Jeanette Goldstein as well as Vasquez.
Yes.
Those are kind of that...
And her bronzer.
Those are kind of like the Holy Trinity. Those are the ones with the best one-liners. But not even just that, they feel like that the sort of that whole camaraderie that they all have. Because I think, although Michael Biehn, I think... came in for James Remar, but they were all in a training camp together, so they had like kind of this kind of great rapport. They feel like they have, you've seen these guys in other missions before. They just kind of have that really kind of great interaction between them. And I still can't, I can't imagine James Remar in that role at all.
No,
it just doesn't feel right. Michael Biehn kind of feels like, Stay Frosty, just perfect for that part. I mean, I would probably arguably maybe more iconic than Kyle Reese role. Maybe.
Well, yeah, arguably. But I think why he works over Remar is like you get more empathy from that character than you probably would out of James Remar.
Yeah.
But I love Hudson's arc as well in the film. I think it's just fantastic the way he enters the film, cocky, brash, loudmouth. And then as soon as like shit hits the fan, he's just
game over.
Yeah, he's a complete wreck and a panicked wreck at that.
And it's Ripley that has to kind of like basically
shake him out.
I think Barr, maybe she does, and I should know this because I watched the film today. I don't think there's a slap to the face, but it's like
no, he's like
snap out of it.
Yeah, because he's going, they're going to get in here, they're going to kill us, and all. And I was like, fuck up, more or less.
Can I also throw one other thing that I didn't mention there that I feel we should? James Horner's score.
I
thought we were going to get to eventually.
We will eventually get to it, but I feel it's enough time has passed. Brilliant score. And I know he kind of talked about because the film's problematic production, he didn't have as much time as he wanted to work on the score. But when I was rewatching it, now maybe it's because I haven't seen Alien for a little while, probably last year I watched Alien, but it's quite kind of the opening kind of prologue. Again, I'm judging from the special edition. It's kind of very much like, yes, this is Alien, kind of similar kind of vibes to what we get from that visually and from the score. And it's once we kind of really kick things off, you get kind of his military-esque score. And it's used quite sparingly in the film as well, because a lot of it is just kind of the sound of the planet itself.
Yeah, it's like ambience more than anything. But that's what's masterful about the score. He like takes you like, right, you're familiar with this Jerry Goldsmith score. I'm going to use like similar beats at the beginning, and then we're just going to ease our way into, you know, the hard-hitting action score, like you alluded to with the steel drums.
Yeah.
Flat out. And
he's such a great composer.
But it's, he was such a brilliant composer.
Such a shame. And Wrath of Khan's amazing. The score for Titanic is
it's only it's a small bit that they reuse from Wrath of Khan, and it's only a small bit. But the thing that I really liked about that, and I think it maybe speaks to a larger kind of thing, where he was under such constraints for that movie, yet he's absolute banger of a fucking score. And I would argue that there's something to having constraints, particularly with regards to Cameron and like what he's gone on to do. I think sometimes constraints and filmmakers having to work within constraints.
Hey, Gavin, you're speaking to the the converted and my constant rants about Quentin Tarantino. I mean, I've always said that. I think I think Cameron, if you said to him the next Avatar film, right, what's your budget you want to be? Oh, I want it to be, I don't know, 250 million. It's like, no, we want you to make Avatar. Okay, it's a special effects feature. And considering this, we've had Godzilla -1. So not be that. I say, right, go and make it for 100 million or, 50 million and see what you can come up with. He probably would come up with a better film. Mm-hmm. But I know he's kind of said because funny, Aliens is an interesting film with Cameron now. He's kind of talked about how he would probably make those films differently. The fact that they're so action heavy, and he's kind of changed now, and the world's kind of changed now. His attitude towards guns, etc., and violence has changed. But on that note, Aliens is not a very bloody film.
No.
Like, I know we haven't seen the Alien Romulus yet, but judging by Freddy Alvarez, his Evil Dead content, and to an extent, I suppose, Don't Breathe, nastier films, those are going to be nasty. I don't know. I could be wrong. I can't judge it. We haven't seen it, so we can't review it. I imagine those films are going to be much nastier and gorier. Apart from really the chestburster sequence when they find the colony member, and if you really want to consider I'll milk Lance Henriksen, his demise near the end, there's not a lot of blood in Aliens.
No, it's Cameron even spoke about that. He's like, I didn't want it to be as like, not that Alien was really too bloody outside maybe the chestburster scene. He was like, no, I want even like sort of double down like in terms of not being as bloody, because he wanted it to be different in terms of his own thing. Mm-hmm. And it works in that way because, the tension within it works a lot better in that way. And just thinking of the scene where Newt is
there also looks
caught.
as well. There also looks as well like there's been a bit of a redesign with the xenomorphs themselves. They're a lot chunkier. There's a lot more, LKY jelly hanging off those fangs.
Beefier boys.
Yes. And I don't know whether the suit... Well, when you look back at Alien, Scott was looking for something very particular in how he wanted the creature to move. I guess with Aliens, they're kind of... Because there only is like maybe about 9... There only was like about 9 suits, even if that.
Oh, in making Aliens?
In the Aliens.
Yeah, because I think he wanted... I think his logic was because the way they described them sort of like ants. Mm-hmm. Like they're like the battle sort of aliens. That's why they look different. But the reason like mainly was because of lighting. It's like you can't use that sort of dome...
Yeah,
that thing that Scott had where you could see almost through it. He wanted it to look a bit differently, so then blue hues with the lighting would work a lot better.
But I'm nearly certain, like I'm thinking in particular, like the sequence, like the again we're talking about James Horner and the score, the sound as well, just the motion tracker as well, because that's the motion track. Pardon me as I burp very professionally. The motion tracker. I'm trying to because there is a motion tracking sequence in Alien.
Yeah.
Is it the same noise, or is it a different? Is it a
no? I
different...
think it's just like a beat. It's like bum bum. Whereas this one's more like a pulse sort of sound.
Because it's kind of iconic in its own thing. Because I mean, you've got the video games, etc. Alien versus Predator. There's Alien Isolation. I don't know if the motion trackers. I think it is in Alien Isolation where you play Amanda Ripley. It's in between Alien and Aliens. Don't know if either of you have played it. Great game. All that's kind of iconic. But that sequence when they suddenly realize, like, how the fuck are these things so close to us? They're like 5 meters and we can't see them. It's like, oh fuck, they're in the roof. And you look up. So you have in your head, you've been perfectly planted with the fact you see the motion tracker and it's like white dots everywhere. The sound's going crazy. When you look up, I think you only see maybe 5 actual aliens. And I think that's why I'm saying I know there was only a small number of suits. When you look in the film, you never see more than so many in one particular scene.
And I think he used like a lot of mirroring techniques as well to make
the same way Scott did
more.
with the opening when you're going through the Nostromo as well.
I think it's that I think that mirroring technique was whenever in the cryo chambers.
That's what it was.
I think that's what they're doing there.
You're
but
right.
Well, you kind of hit the nail. I mean, it's still what boils down to. It's a guy in a suit, which is I don't think you can beat that. Don't you know?
No.
You know, with
well, that was a flaw. I'll give you. I mean, Alien Covenant. I'm sure we'll get to it at some point. I don't want to go too much down that because we are specifically talking about aliens in this. It's a flaw in Covenant when you see the xenomorph in the end, and it's like it's a CGI creation. It's not the same because it's not physically there.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's maybe we're all kind of off the age, old man in the room, kind of maybe that annoys me more than it would others.
It loses heft.
Because when you see it like in Covenant, when you kind of see it jumping on top of the spacecraft and trying to take Danny McBride's space bike or cowboy hat away.
I'll give you one better. Look at Alien 3.
Yeah, that's
in terms of the switch to more computer generated.
Well, hey, I've said that before. That's when you have a filmmaker, and I know Jim McMorrow's been on the pod talking about Alien 3 in the past, where it's like, as a filmmaker, you've got to look and say, right, does this work? No, we need to go back and do something else. Because some of the best stuff in Alien 3 is just when it's shot first person point of view from the alien's perspective.
Yeah, that stuff's great, but then it cuts to the CG and you're like, no, you've kind of lost me a bit.
Mm-hmm.
I was never been sold on the going to the alien POV in that one. I was never really sold on that. I think it looks visually interesting, but I was never
William
really...
Gibson had done it, you'd have been like fucking amazing.
Well, I mean, that's where
you refuse to answer.
That's where
Mr. Politician.
What if James Cameron did it?
No, but that's where
if Cameron did it. William Gibson, fucking amazing.
That's where the tie between
stroke of genius,
Covenant and what would have been Alien 3 is really interesting because Alien 3, the Gibson version, kind of carried on the theme of. You know,
on that note, did you ever listen to the radio
distrust
play that they kind of Audible did?
Yeah, where Michael Biehn comes back. Yeah.
Oh, is it actually good? I meant to.
It's not bad. It's
here's the thing about that whole kind of clusterfuck that was what was going to happen. I kind of blame Sigourney Weaver for it largely too. But
she speaks really highly of you.
Yeah,
Siggy Weave, not Siggy Weave.
But that whole sort of like, you know, she didn't really want to do a third one, and then they were just gonna, you know, they were going to park Ripley for the third movie and then kind of bring her back for the fourth, where inevitably there would be some sort of back to Earth, which is kind of where the thing was always going to go anyway. I'd never had any issue with that, but the whole thing that Gibson, aside from that sort of corporate distrust that Cameron sort of had in Aliens as well, and kind of that's a theme with Cameron movies anyways, sort of corporate, you know, distrust of corporations, things like that, but that whole spores thing, which was a really interesting idea, but I don't necessarily think Covenant took full advantage of it.
No.
No,
it didn't. And I guess that might be a discussion for another day. Look, Covenant and Prometheus, I think, are flawed films. Flawed films in the fact that they've got a filmmaker who clearly set out with something he wanted to do, particularly with Prometheus, and was kind of more or less told, it's like, right, this is what we want. And I kind of love that ultimately. I come back to Ridley and his fuck you phase at the end of Prometheus. It's like, right, oh yeah, guys, we got to make it clear that this is connected to an alien movie. This is a producer by it. It's not me. The producer speaking. And he's like, right, okay, fuck it. There's this little fucking throwaway fucking
So you're
sequence.
not blaming Ridley Scott for copying the ending of Alien vs. Predator?
No, it's not his fault.
Fair enough.
As I said at the time, as much as I mean, Covenant is the most interesting thing with that is David and Walter, I suppose, as well, and the kind of Dr. Frankenstein.
It's a very cheap movie. Do you don't think it's like a cheap movie?
I would love
in terms
to know,
of it being B-movie-ish, or
yeah, I'd love to know.
Maybe. I mean, Prometheus has a bit of, you know, gravitas.
I would love to know with Covenant how much is kind of cut, or much like stuff that didn't make the kind of edit. Because even in Prometheus, there's loads, like in Prometheus, when you look through, there's only a few, I'm judging from the deleted scenes from what I can remember, there's little deleted scenes that kind of nod much more knowingly to Alien and back where they're kind of discovering stuff. But kind of, that's, letting me ramble down too way. I mean, I've said before, Prometheus would have been a better film had it taken place in LV-426. It's like, right, boom, they go to this planet, they encounter this stuff, shit goes wrong.
Yeah, it complicates things more than it needs to by having a whole
tries to kind of take off, crashes, sends that message that we hear Naomi Rapace at the end. Would have just been simpler if that was the message. That the Nostromo picks up many years later.
That's if you want to make it go full circle.
Yes.
But I think he always wanted to do a little more.
Scott wanted to go off, and you've seen it in his kind of later films. I think he's someone very much, he's obsessed now with God and creation.
I think though with the likes of Covenant, I think because Prometheus underperformed, the studio is like, you need more Alien stuff if you're doing another one. So
we'll
I think
let you make this.
Yeah, I think he did maybe have a plan to push things further more towards the engineer end of things. But then it was a studio mandate going, we're going to cut your budget unless you're out. And well, I kind of need the money to do what I want to do anyway, so I'll throw that stuff in.
But hey guys,
too.
you know the way we're not on LV-426?
Can you make it happen?
Let's go back there. Let's go back there.
Yeah.
1986, Alien. So where were we? So we have all hell breaking loose. We have our group of grunts. We have Sigourney Weaver. And I've teased this point earlier on. Now, I know Joanne Alexander, and we were going to get her on shortly. I guess, this would be a great point to get Joanne on with her little thoughts on the film. I think her character arc in Alien and Aliens is much more believable because she's not a changed character in the sense that when you look at Terminator with Linda Hamilton, I guess we'll talk about this more, Joe.
Down the line.
We might get Gavin on for Terminator 2. I don't know. We'll see how this goes. see how many potential libel stuff, how many people he can say, that guy's a cock. It's like, all right, okay.
He's trying to besmirch Sigourney Weaver. I'm not happy.
See, if you started talking about Joker and Todd Phillips, then I'll never be back. But no, I mean, here's the other thing that I think is quite interesting. It may be controversial, is that, I mean, you do have in the extended edition, you find out about Ripley's dead daughter, and then she has the surrogate daughter in Newt, and the
poshest girl ever.
And well, that's the thing. So some people, I know that there are a few people that, if you were to go online, don't particularly like that part of the storyline because it's well, no, I think because it
makes the film click.
I think so. I mean, I think it's maybe more the fact that it's child actors and things like that, and you're like,
I think it's just her voice. And it's not her voice, but I think it's just she just is very posh, prim and proper.
I don't know. I kind of liked it in the sense that she seems a bit disconnected from everything. Like this is a colony off on its own. She's not like everyone else. The sort of macho language of the Marines, the sort of corporate language of Burke and whatever. She's her own thing because she is isolated on her own. That's why it works for me.
Is it maybe because she throws shade at Sigourney Weaver's at Ripley? Later
They're
in the film.
Dead. Can I go now?
But even after that, later in the film, where she's like, "Oh, your little doll's not scared of the alien." That's because it's a doll. You fucking wanker.
There is a little. I mean, that has never bothered me. But I've seen comments of that ilk. It's like, well, it's a child actor sort of stuff, all that kind of. That never, but I mean, I think that's the only movie she's ever done anyway.
Yeah.
No, that stuff is. It's
not a bad wee calling card. Just be like, oh, so what we in? Aliens. All right.
Greatest sequels of all time. No, it's
not Superman 2.
But that particular storyline, again, it fleshes out Ripley so much.
But it's all organic. It doesn't feel forced. And I guess it's that sense. And I know, as I said earlier on, Joanne gets really annoyed when I make this point. It's about how Linda Hamilton's character is understandably changed ever so slightly when Kyle Reese comes back with them dirty sets of jeans. Well, he doesn't come back with a dirty set of jeans. He picks them up on the way. That lovesick time traveler comes back, tries to save her, while Big Arnie and that arse comes back and tries to kill her. She's changed completely from the character that at the start of that film was like, let's go out clubbing, blah, 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 with my weird iguana pet. And, well, she's not the one that's always listening to her Walkman. It's her, as her roommate. But by the time we see her in Terminator 2, she's, as I think Cameron himself says, like, she's the third Terminator. She's kind of, and I use this phrase, and it's probably in the way where maybe my terminology is bad, particularly now, I guess, in 2024, where she's almost had to sacrifice her femininity in T2, in the sense that there's probably a better way to phrase that. I admit she's changed. She's almost a different person.
She's become more masculine, I think.
Yes.
If you're in some, like, if you're going to, in the traditional sense, she can do those insane pull-ups and all that sort of stuff that you would traditionally associate with.
I just get tired looking at her doing it.
We traditionally associate with a male, and I think if you're talking about parallels to Aliens, maybe the slight difference is that I think Ripley doesn't lose that aspect of her femininity.
Ripley still.
That's the reason why she goes back in the hive. She has that maternal sort of aspect to her.
But she's not. I mean, for all she's through in the first one, let's not forget Ripley's the one in Alien is like, you're not bringing that shit on board this ship.
Yeah, it's company orders plus. I don't think that looks good.
What, that thing stuck to someone's face? Nah, guys, throw it back in the sea. She's the same person. I think she yes, there's things undoubtedly she's changed by, but she's believable. And I guess in a time now where we are with Marvel, DCU, and it's only a few years ago, oh my God, we had the first female-led superhero movie. Wasn't it amazing? Wasn't it just fantastic? It's great. You look back in the 80s. Here we have, in Cameron's film, two very different, strong women. Front and center, we have Sigourney Weaver taking control. You mentioned earlier on with Hudson, this gung-ho guy, and she's like, I love that scene where she's just like, fucking pull yourself together, mate. Stop fucking about. Go off, do your job, and fuck up. That's who needs to get clips. That's literally what Sigourney Weaver says.
In that accent.
Yes, but we also have Vasquez as well. Yes, there's a lot of bronzer there. And I know there's, I guess, a flawed looking. No, I mean, now I think you're playing that character, you would have like a someone like Michelle.
You would have someone from a Hispanic background.
Yes, Hispanic, playing that background. You wouldn't just be like more layers of Tanner there.
I think the issue they had was like they had to have someone who was both in the English and the American acting guild, so the options were really limited. So
but she's great. Jeanette Goldstein's great.
Oh, she is. Yeah,
she's fab. And I mean, her death. Spoiler. Yeah, it's great because at the start she's got the intense relationship. Is it Drake?
Drake and her.
Drake, they have the kind of really intense kind of relationship, and then it's
there's a great line though with where Hudson says to her, have you ever been mistaken for a man? And then she retorts, no, have you?
Yeah, it's brilliant.
So it's just off.
She can give it back, like no about it.
Yeah, because so here we have a film that's effortlessly got strong female central crowd, and we haven't even got to the Alien Queen. Strongest to come.
The biggest Disney princess going.
Yes, without a doubt. And I know, Gavin, from memory, I think at the time, you've mellowed towards, we've already got hints of that with Prometheus and Covenant. I think
Covenant, Prometheus, though,
you seem to have issues that they were taken away, or it was kind of Scott trying to retcon away from the Alien Queen.
Uh-huh. Well, because it's a Cameron creation, because if Joe could maybe correct me on this, but I think in the original Alien, in a deleted scene...
There's a big egg.
Yeah.
The alien creates a big egg.
You get turned
into an alien. So Cameron changed the biology of how all that worked. For the better. It just made...
And also, it's the fact that all the eggs that we see at the start of Alien are tiny, and for no apparent reason, we suddenly have the biggest egg ever.
But it brings, because Ripley has that kind of great, I think she has that great realization in the movie. It's like, where are these things coming from?
Yeah.
And so it made more sense to make...
Can I ask a question? And it's another thing, right? Is it ever really explained, other than the fact that the face hug, I'm assuming, maybe you're going to correct me, I haven't picked something. So Newt's parents go off they're sent by Burke to salvage the engineer ship, as we're going to call it for for
the derelict, to give it its nerdy name.
Yeah, the engineer's ship. And they go off. He gets face-huggered, so we know that an alien is going to burst out of his chest at some point. So we know that there's at least one alien back at not Haley's Hope. Is it? What?
That is Hadley's
Hope. Hadley's Hope. Sorry. So we know there's one back. But how do we get from that then to the? Is it ever really explained? Have I missed something?
It's implied that
the massive infestation.
That I think it's implied that obviously they brought him back, but maybe other people have gone out and
I assumed it was a case of like,
what
the hell is this thing? We have to get more of an understanding of what the fuck's going on.
Hang on. Of course, I think you're right, Joe, because sure, there's a lab. And there's a
within
they have a lab with loads of facehuggers.
So they've obviously gone and exploring, and then things have gone wrong in that sense too, probably.
So is that implying then, in a sense, that there's an alien queen, or there was an alien queen on the derelict spacecraft, just to keep Gavin happy?
Or he could have been carrying an alien queen himself, and then obviously broke free, went to another part of the whole complex, laid eggs, and then
it never really goes into the detail on that, but it's interesting.
Is there not like a comic book that goes through like Newt's story, in the days where she's...
Oh, yeah.
I think you're right. I just don't know.
I don't know if do they count anymore, though, but I mean...
of course they count.
I don't know if they're canon or not, but that's what I mean. Maybe it's explained in that, but I don't know.
Someone email in.
Aye. Do you know? Let me know now.
Because I'm just wondering, is a case like this, the alien queen just sitting in the old derelict spacecraft, say like, right, fuck, lads, take my suitcase, we're heading to Hadley's Hope.
Whee!
And because I was just thinking about it today. I was watching it's like we know one alien ends up back there, but what happened? Is it a case that they encounter all the eggs back? Because I'm assuming all the eggs are still there.
Well, it could have been like, there's
either
two
fucking
explanations.
Hundreds of those eggs in Alien.
There's two explanations. One, he carried a queen back, or two, another group of scientists went out and they all got hit with like face huggers, and then
just one of them one by one
had a queen
then
as well.
Another.
Yeah, probably.
Then another.
Yeah, well, given how stupid people can be, yeah, I wouldn't be surprised.
So I feel I was talking there a little bit about Ripley. I think this is the perfect opportunity. I feel just to get a female point of view. We've talked about Alien. We're talking about Alien Queen. Joanne Alexander, aka cosplayer Hedgescout. A couple of years ago, we actually had her on talking about Alien, again on an Alien Day podcast, kind of talking specifically about the character of Ripley. It would be remiss of us not to ask Joanne onto the pod, so I reached out to her, and she was out for a lovely walk and sent me this voice note back.
Good morning from a beautiful April, slightly cold, very bright morning here in the arsehole of nowhere. I'm out for a walk this Sunday morning. Thought it might be quite nice to talk about aliens when I'm out in the open and not stuck in LV-426, being chased by extremely terrifying things, wanting to do stuff with my insights that usually I only reserve for a certain few individuals in my life. And if you hear any birds or sheep, that's additional listeners. Let's just say it'll put your figures up a wee bit more. So aliens, flip, what can be said about aliens that hasn't already been said? Launched in 1979, phenomenal cast of actors. Oh, and there's a runner. Hi there. Yep. Okay, there you go. There's somebody else actually for your listening figures. Not embarrassed at all. Yeah, so where was I? Yep, aliens. Yeah, Ellen Ripley. Let's get straight to the point. Ellen Ripley. Hey, who doesn't love Ellen Ripley? A character that became the main hero of the franchise, and who, like every woman in life, has these awful experiences, tells people about them, advises people, but nobody ever listens to a fucking word that she says. But she, for me, is, well, she's not a superhero. That's what makes her refreshing. In a world full of aliens and women who are absolutely perfect, with big attributes, Ellen was every woman. And I think that's maybe why she was so appealing to us. Obviously, I look at her from a costume point of view as well. I cosplay Ellen from Alien and Aliens. Haven't done the other episodes yet. I don't really fancy shaving my head, to be perfectly honest. Could maybe work out a wig, but we'll not worry about that for the meantime. But Ripley, yeah, her costumes. Now, Question is, I'm going to ask you a question. I'm not going to leave you yet, unless a car comes along or another runner. What colour is that damn flight suit in Alien? I mean, come on, the fuck. I thought it was green, because I've seen some photographs where it's green. Other photographs and reference photographs show it as blue. So there's a big argument, and I think it's to do with the lighting, actually. And speaking to a friend of mine who's in photography and production, he maintains it's the lighting, and unfortunately there's no original reference material left, which is a bit of a bollocks, to be perfectly honest, for me to figure out exactly what it is. So mine's green. So if anybody wants to fight me on Hedgescout over it, they're more than welcome. Oh, I'm getting attacked by flies now. This is going really well this morning. And then, of course, we get to Aliens, and she has a rather fetching t-shirt and another suit. Oh, there's another Joker. And that one was a bit easier to put together. The flight suit, actually, for the first one was a bit more complicated, because it was a particular American flight suit that was used at the time. Plus there was additional images put onto it, or not images, additional bits put onto it. And of course there was the patches too. The next one, she had her leather jacket, her t-shirt that she was left with in the end, and the bottom part of her two-piece flight suit and a pair of trainers. So it was slightly easier to put together, but I think the big gun was the bit that was the most exciting part of that particular costume. We had the flamethrower in Alien, but we had a big feck-off gun for the second one. So, sorry, a fly just landed on my nose. I don't really know where I'm going with this. Yeah. Jimmy always asks me to do these things, and I'm probably the worst person that you can ask. But, Aliens, what can I say? As I said before, I would suggest you just go and watch it. Make up your own mind. And obviously you'll think it's absolutely wonderful, because how else could you not think of it that way? It's a film. It's a series of films. It's books. It's games. It's probably board games by now, I'm sure, because there's been a big rise in those in the last few years. And yeah, that's where I'm going to leave you. Probably a big load of poop that I've just said, but it's a nice morning. Birds are singing. Sun's out. And quite frankly, I'm just glad I'm not on LV426. Thanks, Jim.
So that's Joanne talking about Aliens and Ripley. As I say, she does cosplay as Ripley, although I don't think she's done it for quite some time. She's mostly gallivanting about in the bare nip, almost as Catwoman or Elvira, which just causes issues for me, but we'll not talk about that. That's for my therapist anyway. So, back to Aliens. We've had a little brief mention of Elvira. Back to LV426. I don't know. I mean, we've talked for over an hour. Where do you guys... Well, we will start to wrap things up, because Adam Neeson's not on this pod. This is the point normally when Adam's on the pod. It's like, right, that's me warmed up. Let's go. We've talked for an hour. Where do you want to go to wrap? And I know we can, if you really want, we can talk about the other version, the other installments in the series, but I guess we want to keep it as this is a Cameron retrospective, after all. So where would you guys like to go to next with Aliens?
Didn't really touch on Lance Henriksen, did we?
No, Bishop, no.
He was pretty, that, one for, it kind of keeps you in the dark a wee bit to a certain extent about his motivations until the end, but I kind of thought he was a really good, really strong kind of addition in that whole sort of android,
Because he is someone, I know I mentioned earlier on that he's a much more, positive figure than Ash in the first one. But as you rightfully said, is he? Is he just an immoral character? Because in the sense that he's literally just following rules. So I think the only time he breaks it is because Burke tells him, right, Burke pretty much tells him, I want the face huggers kept.
Uh-huh.
And Ripley's like, no, I want these destroyed. And even then, I don't think
it's even rule breaking. It's just a case of Burke told him, but he just didn't share that information with everyone until he was asked.
But I don't even think,
it.
even when Ripley says we want these destroyed, I don't think he does.
No,
well, obviously he doesn't, because there's that great sequence then when Burke tries to pull his master stroke.
Sabotaging.
Yeah.
Well, the thing that I think, because it, he seems to be mostly, because there's basically the scene where he volunteers to go out to fix the satellite dish, to fix it manually. But there's that great scene at the end where, Ripley and Newt are, they've faced off with the Queen, they go back onto the land and he's gone, and she's like, "God damn you, Bishop," and you're like, "Oh God, was he maybe bad all along?" But then of course he comes back to save the day. I just kind of thought he was a lovely. I thought that's probably Lance Henriksen has been in a bunch of really cool movies over the years.
He's been in a lot of shit as well.
Yeah, a lot of shit too. Near Dark, which we kind of talked about.
Is it The Mangler or The Mangler 2 he's in?
It's 2 because Robert England's Mangler 1.
Yeah.
I have not seen The Mangler.
The Mangler Extended Universe. There's like 4 of them. Come on.
Jesus Christ. But I thought he was one of my favourite things that he's been in. I think he's brilliant in it and just plays it perfectly. I know he pops up in not talk about Alien 3 too much, but I know he pops up in a small
two different roles.
Two different is right. 2 different roles. And he's in Alien versus Predator.
Yeah. He's like Wayland, Charles Wayland, I think his name is, isn't it?
I think they retconned that with Prometheus, don't they?
I think they retconned that whole AVP series.
Yeah,
probably.
Does it count anymore?
But Lance Henriksen, brilliant in that movie. Just a great character. You know, again, like Ian Holm as Ash was kind of iconic, and then I think Lance Henriksen did his own thing. So that would be, I think that's something we didn't touch on. I think he was really perfect in that.
I love how he's introduced with kind of Hudson and
the knife game.
The knife game.
Because I think Cameron originally was just going to do a thing. He's just wandering around the ship while they're in stasis, but he's like, "Wait, I'm making an action film here, Nick. Forget all that. Well, just do the knife trick." Because that's why he was on the phone. He's like, "Yeah, can you do that knife trick? Can you learn how to do that?" And he's like, "Okay."
Because that was all done for real, wasn't
it? Yeah. I think it was like a rubber knife, obviously, but like but still to do
they
that.
Didn't even speed it up or anything.
Yeah, it was a real thing.
That's how quick he did it. Yeah,
I know, super cool. But Bill
Paxton lost 3 hands during the movie.
Well, I mean, we touched on Bill Paxton. You know, R.I.P. What an amazing character, and just But
not even that. Just taking him and Cameron films in general, he always steals the show. Like True Lies.
Oh God!
I start to think as well, if he was still alive, he would have been like a corporate suit and Avatar. Like you can picture him, right?
Because he's not. Is he in Avatar?
No. But if he was in Avatar 2, the sort of whalers. You can imagine him as like a cocky, brash, whaler character.
It's in the same way. He would have been in the same way, like we talked about with James Horner.
Yeah,
in fact, because he did the score for first Avatar, and then who did the score for?
I don't know. I think it's the ones who done work on the Planet of the Apes film.
Yes.
Because he got the writers from that as well to help with the scripts.
Someone messaged in for the Center for Misery. We're not going to Google it like on the last week.
It's over there. I can't be bothered.
Yeah, we're not going to do that. We're not that pod where people go, all I do is just look things up on Google.
You just cut out all the blank spaces in the audio.
I just edit around that. Yes, Bill Paxton is fab in this. And also, we talked about briefly, Terminator as well.
Yeah,
very briefly in Terminator.
But you remember him. That's the thing. Like, whereas, like, you look at films now with people in those roles, you're like, it doesn't make any sort of impact at all. They're just, like, glorified extras that do not, like, a lot of actors now don't make the most.
He's in Titanic, isn't he?
Oh, yeah. So he's in the present day, he's the captain of that
ship. Yeah, of course he is. Yeah, of course. I was trying to think, because I know that will lead to where our next film we're going to talk in this series as well.
I remember as well, they shot that alternative ending, because the studios didn't like the original ending. It's like, I'm going to make an ending so fucking awful, you'll go with my ending anyway. Do you know about the alternative end of Titanic? Where Rose goes on this big speech at the end of the ship with the heart of the ocean. And he's like, Rose, don't throw it into the ocean.
I've seen
Cameron purposely made that to be awful, so the studio would have to go with his ending.
Have you seen the BanterFlix cut of that, where Paxton just runs up and punches her just before she does it?
Fucking fly kicks her into the water. Heart of the ocean and all.
He had no problem doing that.
So that was done deliberately badly. So the
Cameron said he did it badly, because he just didn't want to go with the studio mandate. Because he always talks about, like, how do you get around all these studio notes? It's like, he goes, great, fantastic, love these notes, and then he just puts them in the bin. He just doesn't do it.
On that note, Scott did something similar with Runner as well.
Oh, yeah.
He had to be The Shining.
Yeah, he had
a little bit of Harrison Ford as well, going, "Hey, Harrison, fuck you," because that's how Ridley says hello to everybody.
Fuck
you, Harrison. Just read that monologue as terribly as bad as you possibly can.
Here's a bottle of whiskey. There's a recording booth. Have fun. Pretty much.
You had your fun, and that's all that matters. But yes, Lance Henriksen is great. I mean, I love the little kind of throwaway line at the end. It's like, not bad for a human.
Yeah,
brilliant.
So good.
No, he's fantastic in it. I'm just trying to think, is there anything else in terms of the cast? We went through Paul Reiser's Burke. He's just the perfect corporate slimeball.
Great sleazy character.
Yeah, like even from the first time you meet him, you're like,
is he a
something
corporate
off him.
slimeball, or is he in it? He's the corporate slimeball, but he's in it for himself. Isn't it a sense he's there to, isn't he there to make money for himself? It's like, because he's more or less telling Ripley, it's like, we could make millions.
But that's true. The company, he's never going to give her millions. He'd probably if she was in stasis like the salvage team I thought we were going to do at the start of the film, just unplug her.
Isn't the cat Jonesy?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
whatever happened to Jonesy? What do you think? Put you on the spot. Who do you think looked after Jonesy? Well, if now in this expanded universe, Gavin.
Oh, I think it got flushed out of a like an exit or something, into space. I just think somebody just got like, Ripley's gone, the owner is gone, let's get rid of this cat.
2 seconds after she's gone, on the Sulaco, it's like,
she looks like the ship windows. Is that Jonesy?
in the future, people on space stations have no time for cats. So like, no, I flush it out the,
I know. I just assumed she like hands it to the nurse that looked after. I know, because the only other character you really know.
Maybe it just roams that little kind of medical facility.
I'm sure she put it in a wee home or a shelter that they have in space. Although, would they have one? Because would people have pets?
You know what? More I think about it, considering it's wheeling you, Tommy, I reckon just Gav's right. I think it's just a case of like, it's like,
it encountered the alien. Let's dissect it. And you're like, jeez.
Meat's back on the menu, boys.
There's Urukai on the ship.
Just one.
That'd be amazing.
Just one. That's the crossover we always.
He's in a corporate suit and all.
Yeah.
What happened on the ship?
That's what I want. This is why we're never allowed to make movies here at BanterFlix, because we just like, there's a reference for you. There's a reference.
You know what? It's the studio's fault, not ours. We've great ideas, I just don't want them.
As Adam and I say, we just don't know what to do with the Netflix money.
No.
The Netflix money, with our
Martin in our account.
With our Martin Scorsese version, our own very famous Marty. He's not the Marty, he's a Marty that lives in Castle Street, just happens to love movies as much as his wee cousin in Hollywood. A Christmas special, we made the big time. If you've listened to the last pod, you'll know that we're potentially working on a new Meg movie as well.
Yes.
With Julian Simmons joining the franchise. So who knows what we could do with if we were left with our own devices with Alien, the Alien series. I just know Gavin would just be like, give all the money to William Gibson, let him make Alien 3 finally, and let justice be served.
You know what? We could save the world from AI because we'd put our ideas into the AI and it would just kill it completely worldwide. So we've saved the world.
We didn't actually touch on the abandoned Neil Blomkamp, retcon.
Oh, his idea for... I've read what the ending was just going to be the same as Aliens, only there's more power loaders and more alien queens and stuff like that.
I don't know. Well,
I don't know. Maybe that was a draft of it at some point.
I mean, I know Ridley Scott has come out and said that it never happened because there was never really a script. There was just like a treatment maybe for it.
Yeah.
But I know there was all this sort of cool art, and I mean, everybody got excited because, well, I got excited, because Hicks is back and like there's Newt and
they had makeup tests on Michael Bean and all pictures of it.
I'd seen the
not just AI.
No, it's not concept art. It was actually Michael Bean.
I thought it was like a bit. I've
seen the concept. I've seen the concept.
I'm just picturing, Gavin, that you're like, is it Principal Skinner in Simpsons?
Clonosaurus.
Chewie. They're all here. They're all back.
But it was playing. I mean, it was playing on. I mean, it's probably a good thing that it never happened, particularly given what the movies that he's done since.
You don't like Chappie?
But no. I mean, it was one of those things where it was just like, you probably should have done that. This is what Alien 3 should have been, but you happened to, and Cameron kind of famously said about the, like, you built this family in Aliens and then you fucking kill them off in the first 5 minutes, and it's like, that's such a cheat for the audience.
Yeah, 'cause, I mean,
it's not like to say that you can't do something radically different. I'm all for that, but the fact that it was done in such a, you had all this baggage from the second one and you built up this family and then you're just like, no, they're all...
Do you know what I never noticed, by the way? And I think this is an IMDb fact, so it's not me, and I just was watching the movie earlier today. I didn't realize, I know it's a kind of throwaway thing. At the end of Aliens, when you're kind of watching them in stasis and they're kind of sleeping, at the very end, when the credits come to an end, there's the sound of a alien egg opening.
I didn't know that.
It was all there.
Come on.
Do you think that was retro?
That's not real. That's not.
It's there. I listened to it. It wasn't like as if like I was there.
On IMDb, it says.
Well,
that.
hang on.
So on IMDb, the fact is there. So today, when I finished watching Aliens, I let the credits roll, and then it came to the very end, and all you hear is a.
Sure, it's not you farting.
No, and I checked it wasn't my lovely wife making that noise either.
I have never heard this.
Well, you know what? I might actually. Right. What first you watched the
special edition?
Special edition, right? I don't know if that was maybe retroactively added for a special edition, but I'm going to check when I get home the theatrical.
That wouldn't have been a Cameron thing. That'd have been if it was added. I still don't. I'm very skeptical, Jim.
I heard it, kids.
So
I'm only but honest.
Get to ask Jim Cameron one question, you have to ask him that. Did you put in the egg sound, mate?
I would, but the other thing is too. Sure, it doesn't. Alien 3 doesn't make any sense.
In what respect?
How did the egg get in the ship?
The Alien Queen.
The Alien Queen was on that ship, and she just ripped her egg sack thing, so one slipped out.
She had one wee egg. Yeah, she just let it rip. Boom.
Actually, it would have been 2 eggs, would it not? Because there's.
Is there not the whole theory though that when the Alien Queen before it, I think I read somewhere like before it dies or whatever it is, it lays the next egg for the next queen, because of course 2 queens couldn't coexist in the same hive and the mold of ants as well.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Same matter can't occupy the same space. Is that what you're talking?
Yeah, I don't know. I guess in the
time cop
issues in the issues with Alien 3, I think the fact that there's one more egg
doesn't make any sense, though.
How do you know that it didn't get up earlier?
But how could they not notice a feckin' egg in their
big ship?
Yeah, I think
Slack was a big ship, though.
But it's specifically in that way.
The Alien Queen hid some coats over it. She's like,
well, it doesn't even need to, right? Because the egg would have been in the dropship, right? They're out of the dropship. They're not going to go back and go, here, should we check if there's any eggs in there? Like, it could have been put anywhere in there, and then obviously it's in the Sulaco now. So it could just go anywhere.
Maybe.
But that's me just
now, can I be clarified?
Can it be done?
Can I be Can I be proved wrong, right, on this? So, being in space doesn't kill the aliens.
Well, when you think about it, look at Alien, at the end of it, it's shot out, but then it climbs back. Well, I know it looks a bit silly, but it climbs back into the jet before it's shot out.
So maybe as the Alien Queen is being kind of shot out to space, she manages to cling on to the Sulaco and then waits till they're all in stasis, and she's like, yoink.
Well, let me tell you something that you're going to hate as well. In the Covenant director's commentary, Ridley says the aliens can regenerate.
What? What? He's just making shit up again. Oh.
No, I know. I don't mean to annoy you, but that's...
You did, though.
I know, it's fun.
So they can regenerate in what sense? Like if they get wounded? Or
yeah, because in the bit in Covenant where one of them gets crushed by the claw, he says, that just lands on the ground, regenerates. That's the bit he mentioned about it regenerating.
I don't know.
Because that's how it's leading into these rumours about Romulus, which I'm not going into. I don't want to spoil anything for anyone in case I don't want it like a month or two down the line going, you wrecked that for me.
Well, if that part is true, that one wouldn't have had to regenerate. It was just blasted out. It should have, if space doesn't harm it should but the other thing that Covenant does kind of annoyingly as well is it speeds up the gestation period between.
That's all of them. I mean,
my excuse for that is, well, it's the experimental one. It's not completely refined. That's just me just grasping. Like, if I'm looking for an excuse, it doesn't bother me. But like,
it does. It's the kind of thing that annoys me though, where it's just like, it doesn't make any sense. But then sure, they did the same cheat in Aliens versus Predator. They just speed it up because it's just,
they're like, I guess
they have a plot to move on.
If you're a producer or director, it's like, right, we know once the face hugger's on the aforementioned face, we know that an alien's going to appear. So do we have to wait days or weeks? Fuck it, just get it over and done with. It's like, even I kind of go, the only sequence I will admit, not the only sequence, but the flaw with Covenant is like that weird kind of like, imitate me.
When it's burst out of the chest.
Yeah. Like, I mean, I know we're into Covenant territory now. I actually love how Scott, I've said this before, how he kind of flips the kind of nods to the original one. So you're watching Kane kind of in the first Alien, he's kind of inadvertently kind of stumbling to his demise with in the deserted spacecraft. And no one can maybe people can hear my air quotes. Just
the engineer ship.
The engineer ship. Yeah, you know what that is. Yeah, not the deserted spacecraft, but he's kind of going to his inadvertently falling to his own demise, coming to the egg, and then how Scott flips that in Covenant when you've got David. It's like, here,
how we look.
Come on, I'll show you something. Come on over and have a wee look. Closer, closer. There we go. There is an interesting film in Covenant. My thing is, I just wish Naomi Rapaz's character had a bit more to do, but that I think is also because of the time it took for them to do Covenant after Prometheus. I think she just wasn't available.
Yeah.
No, I think her star was on the way, and it's probably the crueler answer to that. But
you're not a fan of her VOD stuff, no?
I no.
She did some great stuff with WWE.
But the other thing,
there's a WWE movie that it was like backed by them, an action movie.
Oh, she was in it. Sorry, I got confused.
This with Colin Farrell, isn't it?
I'm not sure. No, Joe's like, I don't remember Naomi Rapaz coming out in WrestleMania.
Flying off the top rope doing a swanton.
Dead man.
She actually, she was in SummerSlam.
Oh, was she?
Yeah. And she won King of the Ring.
Class. All in the one night.
Yeah. She got a title shot. Got a title shot. She took down John Cena.
Amazing. I'd love to see her. Sorry, Gav.
But no, didn't she have there was a deleted, maybe it was only on the internet where they showed what happened between Prometheus.
Oh, yeah.
It's in the movie. It is in the movie, but it's also, it's weird. It's in the movie.
It's not part of the theatrical cut, though.
It is, yeah. It's in the movie briefly. And then there's a longer version of it.
Yeah, the longer version on that, yeah.
They kind of released it, I forget what it's called. And then you've got all the engineers are going, oh, look, people are coming. And David's
What's
like...
that black shite?
David's like, oh, yeah, I'm going to turn you into Lorne.
Yeah.
There you go.
That's being very kind to Lorne.
Yeah, that's what I think. But I guess, with our James Cameron retrospective, we've kind of talked to you. I think we're largely, all three of us, in agreement. Brilliant film. I know we kind of get, it's like The Godfather Part 2. Equally brilliant films.
Godfather Part 2.
Godfather, mate. All the time.
You know what? I need to actually rewatch them. I haven't watched them since I was younger.
Gavin also
Film 4 did the whole, and then they did the...
this new 3-cut?
The 3-cut, yeah. So
3-cut is an have you seen the new version of the...
Yeah, I mean,
it's improved.
It was better,
yeah.
But I still, they shouldn't have made it, but yeah, it was better.
It's improved. But, but Aliens, that's a debate for another time. I think Aliens, without a doubt, fab film that has, in the same way that, going full circle back to what Cameron talked about, filmmakers being inspired by Alien, there's without a doubt you can see that Aliens has inspired a generation of film. In the same way you look at horror directors are inspired, so many are now inspired by John Carpenter and his back catalogue. You can see that filmmakers have been influenced by Aliens, without a doubt. We've talked about that. So positive, bona fide. I know we're on Alien Day. We are months away from the release of a new Alien movie. You've mentioned earlier on, Gavin, the fact that we're going to have a TV series as well. No less about that. We have had couple of chances to see Alien Romulus. Are we excited? I think I said at the time, I don't know if it was on the pod or it was on the TV show, the action from what we've seen at this stage does seem to promise more of a focus on facehuggers as opposed to xenomorphs. And I know kind of Scott has kind of said the xenomorph is fucking done. It's not scary. And I think if that's the way they're going to go, with Aliens, one of the creepiest sequences in that film is actually the sequence with the face hugger. And I think it's a terrifying thing because, in the same way, like the xenomorph itself, it's just quite a simple being. Just it's like either kill you or it's going to take you back to the hive and spit on you for ages. To eventually you get sticky enough so they can get a face hugger to come out and give you a wee kiss. Wee kiss. So I'm judging by that's going to be the focus. It does look like it's going to be nastier. That's my only thing I'm concerned. Alien isn't really a bloody gory film other than the aforementioned, the chest burster sequence. Aliens is not a very bloody film. Alien 3 is definitely nastier. And as the franchise went on, you look at Covenant, that's a flaw in the fact that Scott was like, right, it's surprising when you have that filmmaker who did Alien where it was all about tensions. Like, right, you think of the backburster sequence, It's all gore and nastiness. It's like you could have shot that in a different way, and it would have been a lot more.
So I mean, it feels kind of cheap. You know, it just feels.
Yeah, I mean, I think he is leaning more on a sort of a B movie side of thing when it comes to the action and stuff like that. There,
totally.
Absolutely.
But you know, without allowing us to digress back to Covenant and Prometheus and Charlie's just move left. Just move left before we go going down that. Are you excited about Romulus?
I'm sort of cautiously optimistic. I think because he's making the right noises, Mr. Alvarez, he talks to
Scott
Cameron.
Apparently loves it.
Yeah, I'd seen that, but I read
James Cameron told us that he loved Terminator Salvation.
No. It was Genesis he loved.
Genesis.
But no, I think he's making certain, like they talked about, they're going back to using guys in suits again, which I think was a good move. And they talked about, I think the design is maybe from the
Alien. 3-piece suit, yeah.
The touch.
The design, I think, is leaning more towards the design from the Alien and Aliens. Yeah.
I think when you have that opening shot, I'm judging from the teaser trailer.
Yeah,
it's very much like, right, okay, this feels like it's on the
sort
Nostromo
of back to basics sort of thing.
And the fact that they're setting it set between the first and the second one, and there's a lot to milk, I suppose there.
And that's not just Lance Henriksen and not his love for milk.
Well, that's the other. I mean, they've shown so little of the trailer, which I think is probably a good thing. Is there a synthetic in it?
I think there is. There's a character we've seen in the teaser, anyway, in the teaser at least, that definitely, I think, probably I'd be like, here, boy, you're a synthetic.
Aye, and the fact as well that looks like there's another kind of strong female lead. But again, we'll see how. I mean, they tried that, obviously with Prometheus and Covenant, and I can't really remember those characters too much.
It's just to try a strong character. It doesn't matter if they're male or female, but like there is a tradition, obviously,
I think,
within the series.
If I remember right, didn't Scott at one point kind of hint at the possibility they could digitally de-age Sigourney Weaver? Or was that somewhere? Or was that maybe in the Blomkamp version? They talked about that being a possibility that they could consider, and you were like, right, okay, just stop doing it. Stop doing it.
No.
Like I don't know if actually it's been that long on this recording. We were talking about, I think we just were mentioning this before we started to record, about Blade Runner 2049. I think, Gavin, you said that 2049 is a better film than Blade Runner. I would disagree with that. I think, again, like Alien and Aliens, I think they're both great films, but I think
Ridley Scott gets owned once again.
Hang on, did Ridley Scott hurt you?
No.
I mean, what did he do to
you? You know what he did? He told
him to fuck off.
Gavin just said, you don't understand the rule,
see,
right?
this is what he does, right?
No.
Biology of the alien.
Gavin doesn't understand the rule, right?
Okay.
Ridley doesn't mean any harm. Where I would say, oh, Gavin, what about you? When we met for the coffee shop, haven't seen you in years, give him a hug. Hugs, not drugs. Ridley just goes, oh, hey, Gavin, fuck you. Fuck you. That's his way of saying hello. So clearly you were somewhere in a room with Ridley Scott and he was like, oh, Ridley, what about you? And he just turned to you and went, fuck you. No. And you're like, what a fucking bastard.
No, knew what he does. This is his hobby in his downtime when he's not making a film upon film. He just takes out his mobile, just enters a random number, and you just happen to be that victim that night.
I'm that guy, I'm that guy.
It's like, alien, just shit, fuck you.
It was actually one of the very first tweets Gavin ever sent out was to Ridley going, hey, Mr. Scott, I really love Alien. And he was like, oh, instead of saying thank you very much, he was just like, oh,
fuck you very much.
That's his way of saying, he means it well.
I would love it if Ridley Scott came in here now and just told me to fuck off. I'd be like, oh, that's
more chance of Marty Scorsese, but that's not happening.
Another time.
I would take that. I would take a fuck you from Ridley Scott. But no, it's not. I mean, it's more, I kind of have to go off of, all right, maybe there's a bias with Aliens because I saw it first, but with 2049, I kind of think that Villeneuve, however you pronounce his name?
Denny V.
Your man.
Is that he took a world and he kind of added a bunch of cool new shit, kind of made it its own. And I personally think the story is stronger in the sequel because you essentially kind of have the Rutger Hauer character, except he can't die, and he works he's a cop. You kind of have that, and there's just I mean not spoiler alert for the end of the movie, but the one time that I think he replays the Vangelis score is the bit where he dies and he's lying, he's lying
the
in
Tears
the snow.
and Rain.
What I love about what Gavin said there, not to spoil it, but by the way, your fella dies.
When the main character dies.
but do you know what I mean? There was something quite lovely about that. Was the one real kind of, I mean, no, Edward James Olmos kind of pops up for like 40 seconds, and obviously Ford's in it too. But again, the Harrison Ford storyline, I mean, he's in that movie for really the last third of the movie. Some of the best stuff acting-wise Ford has ever done. I don't think that gets praised.
40 Days, 40 Nights? Come on.
No, but in all seriousness, if you're talking about really great Harrison Ford performances, Mosquito Coast, and I would say, no, genuinely, and the last third of that movie, I think he's absolutely brilliant. Really strong sort of work. But I just kind of think the story...
Can I say, I actually was, before you went off, and we triggered you about Ridley, I agree. I agree with you in an extent. I don't think 2049 is a better film, right? I don't think Blade Runner 2049 is a better film.
Better story, though.
No, I'm not. Well, you know what? Unlike you, I'll probably say, yeah, it is a better story because it's got a clear idea of what it wants to do. But here's why I think it's a better story. In the fact that Scott's not involved as a director.
Mm-hmm.
I think had he directed the project, the film would have been much more focused on, is Deckard a replicant or not? And I think what
might not have been as long.
What I think Denis Villeneuve does well, in the sense that I said this phrase before, and I can never say it the first time right. So here it goes: we have Schrodinger's Deckard in Blade Runner 2049. He can be a replicant if you want.
Yes,
he might not be a replicant. It was one of the masterstrokes that film has.
Mm-hmm.
It's a bit like with Dr. Sleep. Although Dr. Sleep kind of, it doesn't really work when you really think about it. It can be a sequel to Kubrick's original, but also can be a sequel to just the book.
Mm-hmm.
Although I think it kind of...
It weaves in and out of both mythologies, like.
Yeah. It kind of, that's the clever thing it does. I think had Scott been directing, it would have been, right, we have to have, it's like, as he keeps saying, fuck you, Deckard is a replicant.
Yes.
That's it.
Yeah.
And he doesn't care, and he would be much clearer in the sense that I think had he not, now that he's not directing the Alien movies, the things that he's probably interested in, I don't think will be as there. This idea of creation and destruction, I don't think are going to be as in the forefront of this film. It's going to be, I don't know. I mean, I'm judging a film from a trailer, but I don't think you're going to get those themes, like his attempt to do his 2001.
No, it'll be less philosophical. Like I said, I think it's just going to go back to basics, bare bones. Crew on a ship, it's like a haunted house, basically.
And
maybe
a bit like
a bit more action
had
to
with,
sort of nod to camera.
Prey?
Yeah.
Wasn't it Prey, the Predator movie? Okay, the Prey...
It went back to basics.
It went back to basics.
Criminal that didn't get a cinematic release, or a theatrical release. That was such a good movie.
Has got a Blu-ray release, though.
Really?
Yeah.
There's physical media out for
the
that.
Nice saw sense.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I didn't know. I thought Disney were going to be like, usual, let's just keep it all in the
And then
cloud.
they just take it off Disney Plus at some point. But no, it is, you're right, it's definitely coming to Blu-ray, or it has already.
It has already come out in Blu-ray. I'm pretty certain of that fact. If I'm wrong, my name is
Great
Elroy again. So,
fuck you.
Yeah, Gavin kind of hinted at it. Are you excited about Romulus?
I'm cautiously optimistic.
I'm looking
I'd
forward
say.
to Remus.
Yeah, Remus. Remus comes after
Romulus and Remus.
I'm actually a bit more intrigued by the TV show. I'm like, how can you do a TV show centered around Alien, especially with Noah Hawley sort of involved? Because I do like what he done with Fargo.
Good track record with also the X-Men show he did on FX.
Legion. I forgot about Legion.
I forgot you loved that. I think it'll be if it's like a 24 episode series.
No,
I don't know how they're going to. If it's
Do
a
people
limited,
make those anymore?
Yeah, I think if it's a limited run, like say something like True Detective, Night Country,
8 to 10 episodes.
8 episodes. I think it's just literally you're watching a director's cut and a bit more.
Yeah.
And you'll have more space for, like, if it's a sequence. Well, I guess on Earth, if you're going to have it on Earth, you're not going to have them, going off in a spacecraft somewhere and coming back, or going to another planet or something like that, where you have more time in the spacecraft, and it's like, oh, I had a brother. Oh, did you? All right, okay. That kind of thing. That's the height of my character development.
Also, Timothy Oliphant is going to be in it, so I'm already sold.
Oh, is he?
Oh, yeah. He's a synthetic in it.
But
also, annoyingly, they're not doing the naming convention that they had with, so Alien had Ash, Aliens had Bishop, Okay, Bishop pops up in 3, and then there was Call in Alien Resurrection. They're not doing and David, of course, and they're not doing
Did Walter not just completely fuck that? Like, they didn't go with Edgar or something like that?
Kind of, but because David was still there, it still kind of counts, I suppose. But they're
that's the movie, so I mean, we don't know what we're going to have with
he's
Romulus.
Kirsch. He's a character called Kirsch in the Holly one, yeah. But yeah, I mean, the I think because Holly will have maybe 8 to 10 hours to tell a story, I'm like, that's probably going to be by definition, you have more story to tell and really go into it. It'll probably be a bit more worthwhile, I'd say, than Romulus. But again, I'm being really hard. I mean, I don't know. We'll see how. I mean, I'm like Joe says, cautiously optimistic about.
Yeah. So I mean, the trailer surprised me a lot, and I know there's a lot of people actually were down on the trailer because it was like literally, it's fuck, you're just doing an Alien movie again. It's like, well, it is the fucking clues in the series. It's like, okay, Ridley did his thing with Prometheus, but I'm intrigued, and I think, judging from a trailer, if the focus is going to be if the threat is going to be more, and we know there's going to be a xenomorph, we know there's going to be an alien, but I think if the threat is going to be potentially coming from face huggers, and they look a lot nastier this time, I could be on board. But again, it's out.
It didn't give a lot away. It didn't give. I mean, what I liked about
in terms of story,
it didn't give a lot away, which is good.
Mm-hmm. True, and how many trailers do pretty much give you everything? Come back to Prometheus. That was my big thing. You know, Prometheus basically threw everything at you by the kitchen sink. So you went in there going, fuck, if that's what you're showing you, what are they not going to show you? And you're like, oh, well, fuck, they haven't actually showed you.
You know the thing about that? The original Prometheus trailer, the first one, it was fantastic. Yeah. It was shot, it was done like the Alien trailer.
That's
it was
right,
just quick cuts. And you're like, oh, what's this? It's like, I'm locked in. I really want to see this. And then the second one's like, here it is. And you're like, oh, wish I didn't watch that. Until it gave too much away.
That'll be a discussion for maybe Aliens Day or Alien Day. That'll be a discussion for Alien Day next year. So I think that brings this pod to a close. Now, Joe, we are continuing our retrospective. Now, you said to me we don't have that many films to go because we've done quite a few. I know we have done Avatar: Way of the Water. I know we kind of talked about Avatar.
Yeah,
we may have to decide whether we have to go back and do an Avatar pod on its own. I don't know. That'll be a discussion for another day. We do have Terminator 2, which I know we definitely didn't talk about when we did our Terminator pod. There's a few others we've mentioned. We have
Piranha 2, technically.
Piranha 2. But I thought to go back on a film that we've already done with the lovely Victoria Brown, I thought we'd go back and do for our next Cameron deep dive, again, no pun intended, I thought we'd do Ghosts of the Abyss. Just for
nice
something a little bit different. It's only
it.
An hour so long.
Yeah.
I don't know. Did any of you guys see that when it was
Titanic
on
documentary?
Yeah, when it was on the IMAX many years ago.
I think it's actually on Disney Plus as well.
Yeah.
Or on YouTube, I know. I remember watching it before we did the Titanic pod, but it'd be good to watch that again.
Yeah, because I seen it years ago in the original IMAX.
Yeah.
I think I'm nearly certain it was the camera.
No, you're right.
Yeah.
It was an IMAX.
It was absolutely fab back then, and then the IMAX closed. Now it's back, and we've got loads of wonderful things on the big screen there. So we're going to be talking about that. That'll probably be next month. We will come back to Terminator 2. We will come back to I think we'll finish. I think we'll hold off the classic that is Piranha 2 to our finale.
Yeah.
For our Cameron retrospective. And it's a bit like, last year with our Disney deep dive that Brown curated. We don't know what we do beyond that. Will we do another director, or will we just go off to different various things? But anyway, that's discussions for a future pod. So all that is really left for me to do now is thank my two guests. So thank you very much, Joe.
Thanks, Jim.
And before we seal him back in stasis until the next time we feel enough time has passed for potential fears of anything libelous, Gavin, it's great to have you back.
Thanks very much.
So thanks very much for listening. And of course, thank you as well to Joanne Alexander for contributing as well. And thank you for listening. We'll be back next week with another podcast. So I guess all that's left for me to say, this is Jim McClean, last survivor of the Nostromo, signing off.